Good evening, everyone. Mr. Hardesty, since you're away, I'm just going to ask permission if I can move forward.
Let's go forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you want to take a look at your agenda, we'll go right down through. First items we have listed there under curriculum. We have listed approved elementary student handbook and high school student handbook. We won't have a motion for you to approve changes next week, simply because there's nothing that has changed. Dates because of school calendar and those types of things, real minor. So we haven't changed any policy that affects student discipline, anything of that nature. So we will not have motions. So I just wanted you to know that. The only thing that'll be really added is in the past, we did a separate FERPA notice to students, which means that if parents didn't want their son or daughter's information presented anywhere, website, you name it, that they would send a letter back into us, and we always ran separate copies. So I talked to Mr. Safran to see if we can incorporate that right into the handbook. And when a student signs that they've looked at the handbook and understand the handbook, that could be included also. So simply that's going to be added into the handbooks. You've already approved it before. It's just our policy. So there will be no motions to address any changes in handbooks. Next, moving on to 4C. Just wanted to remind everyone where we are with the health and safety plan. We have approved our health and safety plan. We will continue to do to our best ability social distancing. We will promote hand washing. We will have hand sanitizer. Masking is optional for anyone in our district, our facilities and building. Again, any mitigation efforts that's required of us, our plan does say that we will shift if it's required. At this point, we're not. So I just want to keep communicating that, and we'll constantly communicate each week on the website and things as to where we are, if anything has changed. But at this point, masking will be optional, except for on our school buses. And so just let me explain that because that's coming down as a federal requirement that transportation, when you're on public transportation, you should be wearing a mask. So therefore we receive federal funds. So we are going to have to make that a requirement that students will have to ride or have to be masked if they are riding a school bus to and from school. Otherwise, it will be optional. Any questions that you're getting as board members that you want me to highlight or try to answer? Another one I should have mentioned. So we did a lot of contact tracing last year. We'll have to continue to do that. As we get into cases, we'll use the same procedures and quarantine folks if we need to. So nothing honestly has changed in that aspect. Any other questions? Okay, moving down under budget and finance, 5A catapult learning. We do this every year about this time. It's because we receive federal funds for the private schools that our students living in our district attend. So we do have students that attend Seeds of Faith. So you'll see that agreement 5A is an attachment, is an agreement to spend federal funds for them in the total amount of $2,968.14. And what that is providing Title I services to students at Seeds of Faith to support English and math with those Title I students. Any questions on that? Okay, next, moving to buildings and grounds. Nothing to approve next week, but I just wanted to go down through the projects that we have done in the past few months so that you're just up to date with them. If you haven't seen, I've communicated to the buildings and grounds, and maybe you've not noticed, but the internet antenna that used to be on the elementary gym roof is now gone. So we had no use for it. So that's been removed. The seal coating of the parking lot and line painting, you can see outside that's completed, that you approved. The one classroom flooring, that project is complete. The water line repair, for the rest of you as board members, That we did, or Mark and the gentleman did determine that the leak was actually in under the driveway that goes back around to the back dock of the high school where the cafeteria is. And the leak was actually in under that road or that driveway. So we replaced that entire line from the building to be on the driveway. Cost to that will probably be anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000 to get that finished up. But that has stopped all the leaking. So we are not losing water anywhere. Others projects, or last project is the electrical wiring project that we approved. That is complete. So there's just one or two minor things. I think we have to put an electrical timer that we've had to order in place. Otherwise, that total project's complete too. So just wanted to make sure that the projects that you approved in the last few months, those are all complete.
There was no hidden costs in anything. Nothing came
No.
up. No. Okay.
No.
They were all right into the budget.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Anything that you want to add to any of that, Mr. Dalton?
No, there was a couple of changes made down at the back of the mechanical room for the field project, but the engineers approved them, and the costs pretty much offset each other, what we had to change.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it was because there was a certain box that was ordered that couldn't get manufactured. We kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So Kenny Jort had communication with Lentz, and everybody agreed doing the same thing.
That is
So you're
correct.
right. There was one thing, but it didn't change cost of it.
It did not, and when we spoke with the engineers, they understood what was going on, and they said that was fine, and they actually come out to look it over and said that everything is, as they would expect it anyhow. So pretty much it worked out in our favor, because I believe the last I talked with Mr. Jewett, the panel that he had ordered, now they give him an estimated ship date was into September.
Anything else you want to add, Mr. Dalton?
That's about it. We're just wrapping up the summer projects, getting ready for school.
Okay. Thank you. Under athletics, 7A, we'll talk about filling that position in executive session. 7B, accept the resignation of girls assistant track coach. We did receive a letter from Mr. Kazemchek resigning from that position. So that's attachment 7B. And then we will, once accept that, advertise for that position. Next, 7C, accept resignation of girls junior high volleyball coach 2. You can see that letter as 7C, and that letter is coming from Maddie Weaver. And then again, we will advertise for that position once we accept the resignation. And then 7D, the same, accept the resignation of head softball coach Jimmy Smith, and that attachment is 7D. Question in athletics. Okay, moving along. Transportation. We have a list of all the vehicles Tri-County will use in 21-22. You can see that list is 8A. So if you want to peruse all of those. And next, 8B is a list of all the drivers, permanent drivers, and then all the subs are all on the same list for your approval. And then 8C will approve bus schedules and routes, and we will keep all those on file. We're to get those by Monday. And then by this time next week, we'll actually send individual letters to all of our students with all their bus route pickup times and drop-offs. So those letters will go out end of next week. So questions under transportation? Okay, None?
Yeah, why are we
Yep,
using a
sure.
silver Avenger? I'm just joking. I know Mr. Hardesty, he likes this. I see we do have a silver Avenger. I wonder what we're using that for.
I
Do
don't
we
know.
approve of that?
You're right.
I know that's one of Mr. Hardesty's.
It
pet
is.
peeves.
It's like you're approving these vehicles and you never see
You
them.
never seen them. They could have 3 wheels.
That's true.
That's exactly right.
Moving down to policy, again, we had the first reading of our threat assessment. We'll be highlighting that in our in-service day about the threat assessment team, but we'll approve that policy next week. Moving down to new business, we do have a letter from Mrs. Bizzaro. That's attachment 12A, indicating her retirement after 35 years, effective October 1st. Any questions on that? And then every August, we have a list of teachers and subs that we need to approve. First is 12B. Those individuals are actually listed right on your agenda. Those are our guest teachers. Just a reminder that those folks go through the guest teacher program through IUP, not IUP, Aaron IU 28. And those individuals are subs that come and assist in the classroom or teach in the classroom. They have bachelor's degree, but not in education. Takes us to next 12C. That's approving the substitute list that you'll see. That's an attachment 12C. At the top of that attachment are the list of teachers. All those individuals have teaching certifications. You can see those certifications listed to the right. And then also on that page, the support staff, subs, and the areas in which they've indicated to us that they would sub. So you can see when it comes to filling the role of a teacher in the classroom when a teacher's absent, we do not have many at all. So those that keep coming to us, we certainly appreciate their support. Next, 12D, those individuals are listed right on the agenda, and we're asking you to approve the teachers that have acknowledged and sent letters of interest in for high school after school detention and elementary after school detention. Questions on any of those? Then leads us to 12E, to approve after school tutoring instructors. And those are the list of individuals for at the high school and elementary both. And then next, 12F, those individuals are listed too, right on the agenda. And those are individuals who are coming in ahead of contracted time. And then the time that they come in, which is 15 minutes early, they can leave the 15 minutes early at the end of the day. So all the other lists that you're approving, those individuals get paid the curriculum rate. All the individuals listed on 12F are not getting paid to come in 15 minutes early. It's just that they have the opportunity to leave 15 minutes early. Questions on any of those folks? Okay. And then next 12G, those are the individual teachers that have indicated that they will serve as teachers teaching any of our Penns Manor cyber courses. If we don't have a teacher that is certified to teach an individual in a class, we will then use the Edgenuity teacher at that point. But we will use our teachers first. Next, 12H, approve Saturday detention monitors. We only have Saturday detention for high school, and you can see the 2 individuals that have signed up there. Questions on approving any of those individuals for the next school year? Okay, moving along to 12I, approve Giddings agreement for consulting services. That agreement is to provide us the ability to assess all of our safety when it comes to our facilities. So we are required. So when the state auditors come in, one of the questions on that monitoring audit is, well, when was the last time that you had an approved safety agency come in and assess how safe your facilities are? For us, it's been a considerable amount of time. So you can actually go on to PDE. There's about 11 agencies the PDE is approved that can come and do that type of work. So Giddings, who we have our security through, is approved by the Department of Ed. So we have Josh made those contacts and we have those aligned to come and do that particular job. Cost to do that for all the facilities is $1,499. So when we get that back, it will be things that we'll take a look at. It'll be things that maybe Buildings and Grounds needs to take a look at and have discussion over. It'll also be discussed at our safety committee that we have here in the district once a month at 7:30 in the morning. So we'll address everything we get back out of that report. Good question.
I just wanted to know, like specifically, what kind of things do they look at? Do you know any of the specifics that they do?
Just, this is broad, but the assessment includes structural facilities, surrounding property, and security plans and procedures, training practices, culture and use of technology to protect your assets, as well as best practices to further mitigate user loss. More specifically, they'll look at things like smaller we have bulletproof bullet resistant glass.
Having trouble hearing?
So anyways, they'll look at most of the structural facility. Then they'll ask us to see our security plans to make sure that they're adequate. Of course, the armed security is already through them, so they already know that exists. So they get very detailed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions related to Giddings doing that assessment? And again, we'll get a printed out report. We'll go through it and look at all their recommendations. And again, I've never seen a district that addresses them all at one time, but it at least gives you an estimate in a timely fashion. We can set up a timeline to accomplish their suggestions. Okay. Other questions? Okay, moving along. 12J, approve a leave request as per the CBA. So we'll talk about that in executive session. 12K, special education supervisor. We'll talk about how interviews went in our recommendation in the executive session. Next, 12L, approve pay scale advancement. So I'm watching, just so that you're aware, we have 3 teachers that have applied for their instructional 2 certification. They have done everything that they can do. We have done everything on our side. I can see it in the system, the PDE, and it's just lagging through the process. So 1 of 3 teachers actually got their certification yesterday into instructional 2. There should be no reason the other 2 aren't. So we'll have you approve that we'll advance those individuals next week. The ones that we do have the certificate in hand, we'll get you to give us the permission to go ahead and move those. If we find someone we still don't have their certificate by next Thursday, we'll ask you to give us the authority to go ahead and move them then once it comes through. And again, it's no fault of theirs, no fault of ours. Both sides of the application is complete, but I try to get in there every other day to see it, and they're just sitting there. But anyway, we do have 3 teachers to advance. Questions? Next, 12M, approved teacher mentor for the new elementary teacher that we had hired, Mr. Snyder. So we'll approve a mentor teacher for him. Next, 12N, approve agreement with Dr. Parks. We do this every year also. You can see his contract and attachment 12N. charging $8 for every IEP that he needs to review if anything has to deal with medical authorizations in an IEP. Don't have many of them, but sometimes we get that in an IEP. So we do need to have that agreement approved again this year. Questions? Okay. Next, 12O, approve VOAG resource person. We'll talk about that individual in the executive session also. If you recall, last year we did not have an ag resource person in the ag department simply because Mr. Hughes actually did not know everything that he was going to be able to do inside and out because of going through COVID. In the past, we've had two individuals there, but we're only going to go with one. And we have that in the budget, and we'll talk about that individual in executive session. Questions? Next, 12P, just an update on the comprehensive planning. Next meeting for the comprehensive planning group is August 19th in the evening. And I've included 12P as the attachment. So the things that we looked at was our SWOT analysis that we asked people to complete. We did have about 78 responses, a mixture from students, community, parents, employees. So we talked about those. So we're just getting started to look at and addressing any needs that are there. So we're identifying the needs. But before that, what we did in 2 requirements through the process is to look at your mission and vision statement. We did tweak them a little bit. So if you take a look at 12P, the mission statement that we tweaked is the Penns Manor Area School District and community will empower each student to discover their life purpose and to achieve success. And again, that's what the committee come up with. Clear at the end of this in the spring, you will pass the entire comprehensive plan. So I'm just going to show you pieces as we go. Any piece that I bring to you from the committee that you want me to take back and change, or if you see a problem with it, just say, because we have now till spring to revise it. And then district vision, the Penns Manor Area School District and community will work together to educate our students to be productive, independent, and respectful citizens. So we got, again, looked at the SWOT analysis and got to the point that that committee approved those 2 different statements. Any questions, comments?
There,
Yep.
with the SWOT analysis, were there any consistent areas where more people commented on than others?
Sure. And actually, how about I just give you what I presented to the committee. So let me send it out to you. So what I did was I just looked across and took the top 5 in all 4 sections of the SWOT analysis. So the SWOT analysis I presented to the committee were the 5 strengths, top 5 strengths, top 5 weaknesses, top 5 opportunities, and top 5 threats. So let me send that out to you. I should have included actually in 12P, but I'll send it out to you tomorrow. Sure. Okay. And actually, that's everything in the open session. We do have some personnel items as I went through this agenda saying that we would need to discuss them in executive session. Is there any questions, comments for open session? Okay, if not, Mr. Hardesty, I'll say goodbye to everybody that's online. Business meeting is next Thursday. And then if the board could stay for executive session, we will not have any more information to present after executive session this evening. Thanks.